Hey guys and gals, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to walk you through the Bandit 1250S from Suzuki. This is the 2008 model. 2007, 2008 were the first years of production for the 1250 version. It started out as a 1200. It started out as a carbureted 1200 when they in 2007, 2008, when they upgraded to the 1250, what they did was they increased the stroke size for a little bit more power, I believe, and then they added some counterbalance in the engine to make it a smoother ride. But this is the 2008 first gen 1250S. Let's talk about it. So this bike comes to you courtesy of my father. So this is my dad's bike. Let's talk about the bike starting at the front. Here we have the Michelin Pilot Road 4 tires. The Pilot Road 4 are very, very great, wonderful sport touring tires. They do wonderfully in the road, in wet rain conditions, but in the curves, in the twisties, they do wonderfully. So on the front tire, especially the original, what is it, the Continental tires, I believe, that came on the bike, it had kind of an S groove tread in the front tire, and what would happen is over the years it had worn out so unevenly. What would happen is on the S pattern, on the front side it would wear differently than on the back side of the groove, and so you would have different heights of the tread on the front side and the back side. So when you try to go into a turn, it would try to kick you out and fight you against that. And so the tire that we took off just recently was awful. So my father bought this bike used, I would say 2-3 years ago, and in that time we've just recently changed the tires. It has made a world of difference. It's a wonderful tire now. So the Bandit being the Bandit, Suzuki made this as a powerhouse bike for a budget, right? So a budget bike. On budget bikes, all companies are going to save money on the forks, right? Suspension is the first place that bike companies go cheap on, and because you get so much engine with this bike, they're going to cut costs here. So the forks are nothing to drop your jaw about. But they're adequate for what needs to be done. When you brake, the front of the bike, dips down quite a bit. So I would like a little bit, maybe a bit of stiffer front forks. But like I said, they're adequate for what needs to be done. I've never had trouble with the brakes. I find that the bike stops well enough. This is not the ABS version. This is just the S version. I rode the ABS version, and I didn't feel any difference with the braking, mostly because I'm not going to lock up the front wheel on purpose or anything like that. But the bike seemed about the same. I know that ABS is a huge thing for especially emergency situations, but this is the standard version without the ABS. Again, the brakes seem great. One small modification is, instead of the ugly blinkers that stick way out, we've got the low profile blinkers here with a little bit of a, a carbon fiber look to them. All right. So moving up, we've got, I believe, I'm not sure, I believe these mirrors are from a GSX 750 or 600. They seem to be a little bit, air conditioner kicked on across the alleyway. I believe these are a little bit shorter than the stock Bandit mirrors, but I don't know that to be certain. So the first kind of aftermarket product that we've got here, other than tires, zero gravity double bubble windscreen. I believe this is the dark smoke version of the zero gravity. Looks great, looks all right, pretty fair wind coverage when you're tucked in, not full tuck, I guess. Yeah, when you're full tuck it should be fine, but even when you're up a little bit, good adequate wind protection there. I will say this, I'm a little bit kind of underimpressed with the absolute thinness of this windscreen. For the price, it's super thin, and I would say that if you're going about, let's have a random number of 126 miles per hour, that this screen would begin to, in this side, begin to wobble or buffer a little bit, I guess, from the wind on this corner, especially because the windscreen is so thin. So I would have liked a little bit of a thicker windscreen there, but that's fine. So we've got the levers, MZS. I got these also, same levers for my v-strom. However, because of the clip here that adjusts, the adjustment switch being so much raised from the profile of the lever, I had to send those back and get a different kind. I'll show you those in another video, with the turn dial inside, the turn dial adjustment mechanism inside the actual lever, so that the top is flush. That's all because of my hand guards, but I like the MZS levers. They're comfortable. They you know, do what they need to do. Again, levers are pretty much levers, if you ask me. On the dash, there's nothing actually fancy about the electronics on this bike. You've got the analog RPM, and then we've got the tachometer is analog, which is nice. I like that. And then we've got the digital speedometer and other stuff right there. If we turn on the bike, you can see it's actually fairly bright, so I've never had trouble seeing any of the indicators during the daytime or at night, of course. So that's pretty standard. Of course, I've got my dad set up with the tech form because I love it. The tech form, I'm going to say that in every video that I get a chance. This is the most amazing, a fully aluminum, entirely metal, really well constructed phone mount that you can get. So moving back on the bike, let's talk about the engine. So the 1200 version of this engine was of course carbureted. The fuel injection is so just very incredibly convenient. No more petcock valves that you have to turn on and off. No more leaky petcock valves. Searching for reserves, you've got that up there, indicators there. But also the other thing is, apparently what they've done is they've lengthened the stroke to get the extra 50 cc, or however 47 cc I think is what it is, 1147. I could be wrong on that. I'll fact check that and put it somewhere here. But they've got a longer stroke to create a little bit more maybe power, or what some people have described as grunt. But overall the bike is just super powerful. It's very, very responsive. Even so one of the problems that I've had with every bike that I've ever owned is I always get to 6th gear and then keep trying to go up. I'm like, okay, where's the rest? You know, I get up to the top gears, and I'm like, surely I've got to be able to keep going here, right? But the Bandit, not so, man. Even 5th gear on the highway riding, you can still, you know, twist the throttle a little bit and feel the excitement. 6th gear, man, it's just a fun, powerful bike all the way, more than what you need speed wise and power wise. So on the freeways, if you've got to pass someone, there's just super quick response, even in the higher RPMs, the higher speeds. But of course, that's what you get with the 1250. That's what you would expect. Like I said, most of this motorcycle, most of what makes it is the engine. This is an amazing power plant for the bike. Not a lot of known issues. I don't think there are any known issues with the engine, the performance. We had one electronic deal with the engine, but it was a recall, and that was all sorted out through the factory recall, so we got a free upgraded part for that. But just a super solid engine from Suzuki, very impressive. Even the 1200 version was just a rock solid bike, and what they've done here is I think they added a counterbalance, an extra counterbalance to make the engine smoother. I will say that after a long ride on this one, my arms have a little bit more numbness getting off than other bikes, because just the power that you get through the inline 4 engine is so great, but the vibrations end up getting to your arm in a long ride. But let's talk about the handlebars. So this was originally a naked bike, the 1200 version. Now they have the half fairing up here, just enough to add a windscreen up top and kind of take a little bit of the airflow off of the body. But because it was the naked bike, we've got the old standard handlebars. I love this because you have a little bit more upright seated position, which is what I like. I am not a fan of the clip-on. So if you go straight out sport bike, you're going to have clip-ons that angle down here toward the tank, and then you've got to really tuck your body up over the tank, and you just got to sit like that, and then of course torque your head up so that you can see. And I don't like that position. So this is a wonderful kind of semi-upright position, riding position, which is a lot better for something like commuting than a sport bike. However, I will say that the commute on this, I did a couple commutes on this bike, and not too comfortable. By the end of my hour-and-a-half commute, my clutch hand is just worn out, mostly because I spent the entire time taming the power that wanted to be free, you know? So when you've got a super power plant like this, a fast bike like this, and you're sitting in rush hour traffic, it's not a fun deal. So I will say it's a beautiful bike. It's comfortable enough. It's wonderful for short rides or long rides, but for the commute, stop and go traffic, you're just going to be on the clutch all day long, holding it and just barely letting it go like it likes to go. So let's talk about the seat here. When I first started riding the motorcycle, my father had lowered the front of the bike quite a bit, and as you can see, so my dad's obsessed with having a lower bike. He's coming out of drag racing for years and years and years. He wants that lowered bike so you can go a lot faster. And what we see is we've now lowered the back end of it too. My dad is amazing. He fashioned his own lowering links. I don't know if we can get in there to see them, but he fashioned his own lowering links to lower the back end. So now the back wheel sits way off the ground when you're up on the center stand. It's hard to get it up on the center stand because instead of just rocking it backwards a little bit, you have to actually pick up and rock back. Anyhow, so now that it's lowered, so what I was going to say is when he lowered the front of it, as I was riding, I would always slide forward on the seat and feel like I'm on the tank, or slide forward on the seat and feel like I'm on the tank, over and over and over. The whole ride I would have to push myself back, and that wasn't a lot of fun. Now that the back is lowered to match, it's so much more comfortable. I will say this seat is not ideal for me. It feels like I'm sitting on a bubble rather than my seat, which feels like I'm sitting in I guess a hammock. So now that I've ridden it several times with the pitch of the bike much better adjusted, I like it. I wasn't uncomfortable at all on it after that. but again, it's not a luxury bike like a Goldwing or even like my v-strom, which is more for longer tours. So a lot of people like to upgrade to, what is it, Corbin seats. The ABS model, the 2009 ABS model that I rode on had a Corbin seat, and I was not very impressed with it, because for that it did have the more concave profile to the seat, so that you don't feel like you're sitting on a bubble. But what happened there was it shortened the distance between the pegs and the seat. As a 6'2" rider, already with the Bandit, I don't have tons of leg space between the seat and the peg, and I'd like to have more. But the Corbin seat lessened that even further and made it very noticeable on my knees when I sat on it, that my knees were quite bent and really folded up under themselves as I rode. Back seat's very comfortable, super comfortable for passengers. So the suspension on the back and the front is adjustable for preload. So you have to get up in there with tools, and you can adjust with for preload, which is great. Again, simple suspension, but that's what you're going to get with a budget bike. So let's talk about the exhaust. We've got the factory upgrade, the Yoshimura. So I guess Yoshimura is the Suzuki brand of exhaust pipe. We've got the slip-on here for Yoshimura. It makes it sound a lot more crisp than the factory exhaust. Again, the 2009 that I rode, I had the factory exhaust, and I was just so surprised over and over how quiet the bike was compared to the Yoshimura. I do a lot of night riding, so I don't like aftermarket exhausts, but if I did, this one would be the one that I liked. It sounds great. It really, really does. Back brake works really well for the machine. It's not soft. It's very good response and all of that. So I guess that's it. My father's 2008 Suzuki Bandit. Let me just say, this is kind of my dream bike. I've done a lot of research of bikes over the years. I like the more upright, naked bike style. I don't mind the front fairing, the front half fairing. I like it. I love being able to see the engine instead of having this all covered up so that you can't see anything. This is kind of the bike that I like. I like the upright style. I like the power of the bike, the speed. But for now, I'm happy with my v-strom, because I do a lot of commuting, and like I said, to commute on a beast like this, you don't let the bike be what it is. So there you have it, my thoughts on the Bandit 1250S. I don't know, what do you think? Leave your comments, like, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Bandit.